Good morning, everyone. Connie Myers here with another fantastic interview for my Kick Butt Leadership series. And today I have one of my favorite people on the planet. We've known each other for quite a few years now. This is lovely Meghan Vost. Thank you, Meghan, for joining me.
Thank you, Connie, for having me. This is really exciting.
Yes, it is. It is. How many years have you been going to Awesome Females now?
Oh boy, it's been 9 or 10 years now since I've been going to Awesome Females. I think I've only missed one event in that time. It's a very valuable event, in my opinion,
It
every year.
is. It is
Yeah.
totally. So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everybody. Were you a leader as a child?
Um, so the answer is yes, but what's interesting about that question is a couple days ago when you and I touched base and you let me know you were going to ask that question, my gut said no, that I was not a leader. And it's really only kind of in reflecting on it that I realized what I was looking back on when I first heard that question was more my circumstances. And, I happened to, when I was a kid, we moved around quite a lot. About every 2 to 3 years, we would move to a new place. So I always have this perception of myself sort of standing on the outside, trying to figure out how to get to know people, how to get connected, and then we'd kind of be on to the next place. But when I really stop and think about it, there are a number of ways that I think I had the instinct to be a leader, but I really adopted that follower mentality for a long time. So I'm grateful as I reflect on it that I've had a lot of examples in my immediate family, even of women in leadership. I'm also grateful that, I honestly grew up as an American at a time when you had the ability to make choices. As a woman, I know that's something that not every generation, before us has had. And it always was my instinct to get up on stage. I was like theater. I was like doing that and putting myself out there in that way. So I do think in a lot of ways I was a natural leader, but I didn't think of myself that way.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had women leaders in your lifetime.
Uh-huh.
Can you give me an example of one that is most prominent?
Um, Well, when I think about a lot of the women I saw in leadership, I actually had two great grandmothers who
Oh,
both
wow.
were very powerful women in their, respective communities, which in one case was very small town Nebraska and the other one was very small town Missouri. But they both were women that in their own rights, for instance, my great grandmother, she was literally a pioneer on the plains in Nebraska and
Wow.
in the sod house and the whole thing. We're really lucky. We've had somebody in my family document all of this. And she was a school teacher, and after she raised the kids, she basically started doing microloans. Before, of course, that was, really a thing. This would have been
Wow.
like in the 30s and so on. And she would make small, relatively small loans, smaller than the bank would make, to people locally. By all accounts, she was very savvy and well regarded and very even handed, but you also didn't want to mess with Hazel if you owed her money. So I was able to draw on those kind of examples. I had actually my great aunt, my father's aunt. She was a very successful business person in St. Louis. She owned multiple daycare facilities, grew it into the one of the biggest ones in the St. Louis area. She had a dieting business, a product that was very similar to Slim Quick before Slim Quick was a thing, and a fitness, multiple fitness centers. So I've really been very fortunate that
Wow.
I've had not just, and I've had some men in my family who've been very, very successful in their own right, but I've also had women and who did it at times in their life where they didn't necessarily, start out on a path that just naturally evolved from a young age. They made some changes in their life and said, no, I'm going to do something different, and took that leadership role.
Wow. To have women in that time with that kind of background and experience and savviness
Yeah.
is really, really, that's something you can really draw on. And how cool is that? And that you have documentation of it. That's even better.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get from your childhood to CEO of Avenue West?
Well, I took a whole lot of twists and turns along the way, like I think most of us do. I had a number of just jobs, I would say, for a pretty significant part of my career, things like retail and administration, and I was a DJ for a radio station for a while.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, actually, that was a really fantastic opportunity. That was a lot of fun. And then I got into the real estate industry and, was helping people buy and sell real estate, and eventually transitioned into franchising and being more on the industry side of the business. And then GFC, global financial crisis. I don't think I was the only one who went through some transitions in the real estate space as a result of all of that. And so my career really hit some stumbling blocks because of the lack of opportunities. And as you call them, crystalline moments, I can remember sitting in a meeting in a situation that I knew was not a good fit for me. And after having been through another one that had not been through a good fit for me, having that really crystalline moment of, none of these people are actually smarter than I am or willing to work harder than I am. They may have more experience or they may have more expertise in a particular area, but mostly they just kind of showed up and kept pushing for the role they're in or what they believe in. And so I feel really fortunate that I got exposed to the concept of Avenue West and corporate housing kind of all around that time. And I really understood at that point that it was time for me to own my own business and do my own thing. But I also knew I didn't want to do it alone. And coming from the franchising space, I saw the value in that. So I did purchase the franchise in 2013, I guess it was already. And, started really working it from there. I love it. It's been a fantastic fit for me. And so in some ways, because there weren't enough opportunities at the table when I was looking for another seat, I just said, all right, I'm going to go get another table and I'm going to be the CEO. And it's been a fabulous fit. I'm extraordinarily grateful for what has gotten me here, even though I didn't care for it, especially while I was going through it.
Well, along with those crystalline moments, just prior to everything coming together, I always tell people there's always chaos.
Yeah.
And that chaos is getting our mindset to be able to move from that old environment and that old energy into what is going to open up to have this new life. And I remember kind of when you were going through some of that, it was a struggle for you. So
yeah, you took some steps, Connie. This wasn't a straight line, so to speak.
Well, but you were definitely not alone during that period of time.
That's true. That's true.
It was a tough time for a lot of people related to the real estate industry.
It was.
So tell us a little bit about Avenue West and why is it that you love the franchise so much?
So Avenue West, we do corporate housing, which is short-term, fully furnished housing. When we say short-term, though, everything we do is on a 30-day minimum. We're not doing the daily and weekly type space or stays like the vacation space. So what we do as Avenue West, that is our niche in the corporate housing space specifically, is traditional corporate housing would go rent apartments, furnish them all, put the utilities in place, and use that inventory for their clients. We work with property owners who have condos or single-family homes that make sense for corporate housing, which there are some pretty specific criteria for it to be the right fit. And then we utilize those properties to match them with our corporate travelers. And then we're really positioned where we are, it's a B2B business. We're primarily working with employers with relocating employees or project-based work. We work with a lot of insurance adjusters. People need to be out of their homes while those repairs are being done. We do a lot with the sports and entertainment industry, especially here in Phoenix. Spring training is always a big deal for us. We have a lot of medical travelers. People need to be out here for healthcare reasons, traveling nurses, doctors. There's a whole host of reasons that people need this temporary, flexible space, because most of our travelers come in on a 30-day minimum and then just extend until they give us 30-day notice to vacate. So they're not necessarily static stays, because you have people in some level of transition who need a nice, safe, clean, contained place to be. But going out into a new area, typically finding a short-term rental, getting that furnished, putting the utilities in place, especially if you're really only looking at being here for 30 to 90 days, that can be pretty daunting, especially when you just had your second job interview last week and they asked you to start in Phoenix next week. And, there's a whole lot going on. So we really recognize the value of what we bring. And we also recognize that for our property owners, they're able to leverage a higher return because we get closer to hotel rates than real estate rental rates. But they also would not have the ability to tap into this type of client base. It's not like an online vacation platform where it's populated almost entirely by private owners or smaller entities. It's really coming through this one channel that we have access to because of our involvement in a national, actually, I'm sorry, we're in Canada now, so an international franchise system, which is what Avenue West is.
How long has Avenue West been around?
Avenue West has been around for about 20 years. The concept originated in Denver, which is where the original franchise is, and of course is still operating and very successful there. And then we've seen a lot of expansion, and we are up to 16 franchises in 16 different markets. I own the Phoenix and Scottsdale markets here in Arizona, which is what where we started originally. And then about a year ago, we also acquired the Tucson franchise and have been actively expanding down there.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Every time I see you at Awesome Females, I can tell that it's getting better and better and better. So I'm so very, very happy for you.
It really is. Yeah, it's wonderful. I could not have, nobody, said when they were asked at 6 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Corporate housing. But as it turns out, it is the ideal fit for me and the kind of business I want and can be proud of. And I like the nature of it, the nature of the work too, which I think matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think because, I talk about this all the time. It's very important that we find something that we absolutely love doing. And if we love doing it, it's not really work. It's our passion.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And that's why I said earlier, when I reflect back, I had a number of jobs. I don't feel like I have a job anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, speaking of awesome, you and I met at Awesome Females in Real Estate. You said about 10 years ago, you said?
I think my first one was 2000, either 10 or 11.
Well, I can tell you that that's one of the beautiful things is we get to know people, we get to know each other and other really powerhouse women. Yeah. The first time you went to Awesome Females, what was your first impression?
Well, my first impression was, first of all, I was blown away by the caliber of the other women that were in the room. I knew Bernice Ross going into that and had worked with her considerably when I was at Realty Executives International before that, and she was highly involved there. And so I knew her going in, and I knew how impressive Bernice was. But to be honest, I did not expect, my experience with real estate events up until then had been much more agent focused or broker focused, and being able to tap into and connect with these women who are wildly impressive women. I was kind of intimidated the first time, to be honest. and really and kind of question whether or not I should be there. And very quickly I realized that absolutely I should be there. That's a big part of what Awesome Females is for, regardless of what stage you are moving up in your real estate career, that you need to get into the room and talk to the people who know if you're gonna really do something. And I directly attribute Awesome Females for the fact that I chose to purchase the franchise and say, yep, no more being an employee. It's time for me to do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it's been 10 years. So what is your favorite thing when you go there? Besides meeting the powerhouse women, what is one of the favorite things you like to do there?
Well, I think you're leading me down the primrose path on this
I
one.
think I am too.
But, I've been fortunate, not for that whole period of time. I think I've done it 3 or 4 times now, where I've been able to co-host the auction, and we always do an auction at Awesome Females, which supports organizations that other women in the group are highly involved in. And so I've been lucky enough to be the auctioneer, which I love and have a great time with, and also get a lot of really great feedback from my friends in Awesome Females. We've done an amazing job of raising a significant amount of money strictly from the goodness of people's hearts, and which is, been pretty amazing.
Well, I have to say, I think that your talent as an auctioneer, if you don't make it in the corporate housing market, I think maybe you got a career as an auctioneer.
Yep, I got a plan B. I can go out there and
okay, I'm going to ask you. Yeah. Will you please give us your little auction talk?
Of course, absolutely. So first time I auctioned, I had never auctioned before. And so I went on to YouTube about 2 minutes before Cheryl and I were supposed to start the auction and basically learned how to auction. So there's basically 4 key things. First of all, you need to know your numbers. You need to know that 2 is higher than 1 and 3 is higher than 2, and you're trying to get the numbers to go up. The second thing is you need to create that urgency. So you need to make people feel excited and get some competition going and getting a little friendly, heated volley to, again, get those numbers up. And then the third thing is you need your filler words. So you need some time while you're letting that urgency build to to give it that time. So my filler words are, hey there, oh there, once and even end. So once people start hearing that, they know it's time to really drive up that bidding. And then the fourth thing is that sing-songy quality as you're talking. So the way that we actually do that, Connie, is so if I am auctioning off this beautiful iPhone, which you must have, even though you probably have one in your purse right now. And we start with a number, call it $100, and then we 100. Do we hear 100? Do we hear 150? Do we hear 150? Do we hear 200? Hey there, whoa there, once and even then, and hopefully by then somebody's jumped in with a little bit of a higher number. So, yeah, we have a good time with it every year.
Oh, it is. It's a great time. And it is one of my favorite things about the whole Awesome Females. So, well, Meghan, I love you to death. And thank you so much for participating in this interview and talking a little bit about your feelings about Awesome Females. It's just a wonderful thing that we've gotten to know each other over these years.
I agree, Connie. I agree. Thank you so much. I'm really privileged to have had the chance to do this with you today.
All right, everyone. Another fantastic lady. I am surrounded by the best ladies ever. I always say I'm one of the most blessed women on the planet, and Meghan is certainly one of those. So I will be back again for another Kick Butt Leadership series interview. I'm not quite sure who the next one is, but I'll let you know. So thanks for joining us, and have a fabulous day, and we'll see you soon.